The casket is small. Far too small. That's the first clear thought I have as they lower Caleb into the ground. My 9-year-old son's final resting place. My hands won't stop shaking. I've tried pressing them against my black dress, clenching them until my knuckles turn white, even stuffing them into my pockets. Nothing helps. Tears stream down my face in steady silence. I no longer bother wiping them away. Each mechanical whir of the pulley tightening my stomach, and my knees threaten to give out. The cemetery worker glances at me, waiting for a signal that I'm ready for this moment. But I'll never be ready. 8 months ago, doctors finally named the illness stealing my son's strength, a rare blood disorder, as if giving it a name could make it any less terrifying. Caleb accepted the news better than I did. His small face was calm and determined as the doctor explained the treatments. "Will it hurt?" he asked quietly. "Sometimes," the doctor admitted, "but we'll do everything we can to help." He never complained through months of needles, transfusions, and medications with names I could barely say. Even when high, fevers left him trembling under hospital blankets, he'd look at me with those familiar eyes, so much like his father's, and whisper, "I'm okay, Mom. Don't worry." Now I stand alone beside his grave, the emptiness pressing into me as hard as the grief itself. My parents should be here. My sister Victoria, who promised to always stand by us. Melissa, my best friend since 3rd grade, the one who held my hand through my divorce, didn't come either. Instinctively, I pull out my phone and instantly regret it. Victoria's Instagram feed appears. Pictures from her engagement party at the Grand Horizon Hotel fill my screen, happening right now. There she is, champagne glass raised, diamond flashing, our parents smiling beside her. The timestamp reads 20 minutes ago, while I was listening to the minister trying to describe who Caleb was. "Are you doing all right, dear?" I look up to see Angela, my elderly neighbor, the only person who came. Her weathered hand rests on my arm, her eyes kind and worried. For 18 months, she brought home-cooked meals when I was too tired to cook, watched Caleb when I needed to rest, and never once treated his illness as a burden. "They didn't come," I whisper. "Not one of them." I can't stop hearing Caleb's laughter, real, unrestrained before the sickness. How at 7 he'd say he wanted to be a doctor, to help kids like me someday. How he insisted on wearing his superhero pajamas to chemo because, as he said, superheroes are brave, even when they're scared. "That boy loved you more than anything in this world," Angela says softly. I nod, remembering how Ethan, my ex-husband, had set up an $850,000 college trust fund for Caleb before his job took him overseas. "If anything ever happens," he'd told me, "you're the beneficiary. I know you'll honor his memory." He couldn't have known how soon those words would matter. Part of me wants to call my parents, to scream until my voice breaks. How could they choose Victoria's engagement party over their grandson's funeral? The other part feels completely numb. After 18 months of fighting for my son's life, sleeping in hospital chairs, learning medical terms, and arguing when doctors dismissed his symptoms, now there's nothing left to fight for. My phone vibrates with a text. My mother's name lights up on the screen. "We need to talk. Bring the trust documents tomorrow." I stare at the message, reading it twice to be sure I've understood. They didn't come to Caleb's funeral, yet they're asking about his trust fund. A sharp, analytical thought cuts through my grief for the first time today. "Something feels off," I reply. "I'm burying my son today. I can't discuss paperwork right now." Her response is immediate. "Don't be dramatic, Destiny. This is important for the entire family, the whole family, the same people who couldn't spare 2 hours to say goodbye to Caleb." Reality begins to settle in. This isn't just about money. It's about the only thing I have left of my son. His memory. The life he'll never live. Clarity hits me hard. I'm on my own in this. My parents, Victoria, even Melissa, they're working together, coordinated, while I'm consumed by loss. What have they been planning? For how long? Angela notices my tension. "What is it?" she asks. I hand her my mother's message, watching her expression tighten. "Oh dear," she says softly. "They can't seriously mean that." I switch off my phone. Whatever they want can wait. This time belongs to Caleb. I won't let them take that from me, too. Angela rests a gentle hand on my shoulder. You're not alone. I'm here. A cemetery worker steps forward hesitantly. I'm sorry, but we need to conclude the service. I stare at Caleb's casket, suspended over the open grave. Am I really supposed to walk away now? Leave him here alone? My body won't move. Angela intervenes. Please, give her a moment. She's saying goodbye to her son. The worker nods and steps back, honoring the space Angela has created. I reach into my pocket and take out Caleb's favorite action figure, the one he kept through every hospital stay. Kneeling beside the grave, I place it gently on his casket. I'll protect what's yours. I promise, I whisper. As I rise, something shifts inside me. Through the heaviness of grief, a faint spark begins to burn. I don't know what the days ahead will hold, but one thing is certain. They won't take my son's legacy without a fight. The morning after the funeral is gray and damp, matching my mood as I drive to my parents' colonial home in Oakwood Heights. I grip the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles pale as I get closer. The thought of seeing them after yesterday, after they chose Victoria's engagement party over their grandson's funeral, tightens my throat. I park behind a familiar silver BMW. Melissa's car. Of course. Before I can reach the door, it opens. My father stands there, his face composed in a show of concern that doesn't touch his eyes. Destiny, come in. We've been waiting. The living room feels like a conference room. Victoria sits upright on the cream sofa, legs neatly crossed, her blonde hair in a perfect chignon. Melissa sits beside her, suddenly fascinated by her nails when I walk in. My mother stands by the mantel, her hand resting on a family photo where we're all smiling, a staged memory. No one mentions Caleb. No one offers condolences. My father moves straight to the point. He steps to the coffee table where a folder lies open, papers neatly arranged. We need to reallocate the trust, with Victoria as trustee, he says, sliding the documents toward me. Sign here and here. I don't reach for the pen. What are you talking about? Victoria leans forward slightly, uncrossing her legs. Destiny, you're in no state to manage this kind of money. We're only trying to help. My mother steps closer, her tone smooth and falsely kind. You've always been impulsive when it comes to money. Remember that boutique you wanted to open after college? Thankfully, your father convinced you not to. I glance toward Melissa, hoping to find a trace of the friendship we once shared. She meets. My gaze briefly before turning away, her silence says enough. We've already consulted Ethan's lawyer, my father adds, tapping a stack of papers. Given your emotional state, he agrees this is the most reasonable step. The words land like blows. I pick up one document, recognizing legal terms about mental competency evaluations. Another page catches my attention. Research on trust law dated 14 months ago, right when Caleb was first hospitalized. You've been planning this since Caleb got sick, I whisper, the truth igniting in my chest. While I was sitting beside his hospital bed, you were studying how to access his money if he didn't recover. Victoria exhales sharply. You're overreacting again. That's exactly what worries us. My father slides another document across the table. If you refuse to sign, we'll petition for guardianship. The court will see that grief has clouded your judgment. Their betrayal becomes fully clear. They ignored Caleb's illness for 8 months, dismissing my concerns as paranoia. Now I understand. They were preparing for this moment all along, waiting for tragedy to strike. My world shifts under the weight of that realization. Memories rearrange themselves in this new light. My mother, 10 months ago. It's probably just anemia, Destiny. You always overreact. My father, when Caleb needed specialists, these doctors prey on your anxiety. He only needs vitamins, and Victoria refusing to visit him. Hospitals are depressing. He'll recover soon enough. I notice a blueprint peeking from beneath the trust papers, renovation plans for Victoria's new house, a $200,000 kitchen remodel, a home theater, a pool with a waterfall. You never visited him in the hospital, I say, my voice steady with anger. Not once in 8 months. Victoria tosses her head, impatient. We all grieve differently, Destiny. Some of us just manage it better. The casual cruelty in her tone stuns me. For the first time, I see my family clearly, not as the support I've always hoped for, but as people who treat Caleb and me as accessories to their perfect image, useful only when it benefits them. Why now? I ask. What's the sudden rush? Victoria exchanges glances with my parents. A silent understanding passes among them, leaving me out as always. Fine. You should know, Victoria says finally. Robert's development company is having cash flow problems. The wedding might need to be delayed. Unless we secure extra funding, my mother fiddles. With her pearl necklace and there's the vacation property in Hilton Head. The market shifted, and we're a bit overextended. We're not villains, Destiny, my father says, softening his tone, the one he uses to close deals. We're family facing challenges. Melissa finally speaks. Her voice small. My divorce will be finalized next month. Victoria promised me a position at Robert's company. I need this, Destiny. I have the twins to think about. Now I see them, not as monsters, but as fearful people willing to sacrifice me to protect their comfort and status. If you don't sign, we'll have to take stronger action, my father warns. His polite facade fading, my mother reaches for my hand. After everything we've done for you and Caleb all these years, I almost laugh. What have they really done? Sent birthday cards with $20 bills? Made occasional surface-level calls? Don't make this harder than it has to be, my father says, his voice turning firm. You're not thinking clearly. Victoria glances at her watch. We need this resolved within 60 days, before Robert's next project financing deadline. The look in their eyes says it all. They're desperate. They need Caleb's money, my money right now to fix their problems. I rise, gather the documents, and place them neatly into the folder. I need some time to think, I say, walking toward the door. Destiny. My father's voice cuts through the air, sharp and commanding, just like in my childhood. Don't walk away from this table. I close the front door behind me, the quiet sound carrying finality. Sitting in my car, I press my forehead against the steering wheel, trying to process everything. My phone buzzes. Angela. How did it go? I'm here if you need to talk. Before I can respond, another call flashes across the screen. It's Ethan's parents. My hands tremble as I answer. Destiny, dear? Martha's voice is warm, full of genuine concern. We just heard about the funeral. We're so sorry we couldn't be there, she continues softly. We were in Europe and just got the news. We loved that boy so much, George adds, his voice breaking. Their sorrow feels sincere, their compassion real, so unlike the cold, rehearsed sympathy from my own family. As I end the call, a memory surfaces. Ethan once told me, if you ever have questions, contact Richard Donovan. He's the best trust attorney in the state. For the first time today, hope stirs within me. I'm not alone. Angela saw how much I cared for Caleb every day. Ethan's parents loved him without expectation. And Richard Donovan, he knows what Ethan truly wanted for Caleb's trust. I start the car, my decision clear. I won't fight this battle alone. Finding Richard Donovan's number in my contacts. I dial. Mr. Donovan's office, a receptionist answers. I need to speak with him immediately, I say, surprised at the steadiness of my tone. It's about the Caleb Walker Trust. Later that same day, I arrive at Richard Donovan's law office, a space of polished wood and shelves lined with leather-bound books. My grip tightens around the folder until my knuckles pale. After 2 sleepless nights researching trust law, I still don't understand everything. My rights? Or how my family thinks they can take Caleb's legacy away. Richard stands as I enter, extending a firm handshake. He's older than I expected, silver hair, reading glasses perched low on his nose. His eyes are kind, yet observant. Mrs. Walker, please, have a seat. I'm very sorry about your son. Thank you. My voice cracks slightly. I've heard those words so many times this week, but his tone holds genuine empathy, not formality. I slide the folder across his desk. These are all the documents I have regarding Caleb's trust. My ex-husband Ethan set it up before he was transferred overseas. Richard opens the folder and begins reviewing the paperwork with practiced precision. He nods occasionally, pausing at certain sections. The silence stretches until I finally speak. My family wants me to sign over control of the trust. They say I'm not emotionally stable enough to manage it because of my grief. The words sting as they leave my mouth. They didn't even come to Caleb's funeral. Richard looks up sharply. They didn't attend? No, I say quietly. Victoria had her engagement party that same day. My parents and my former best friend Melissa went to that instead. He removes his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose. I remember when Ethan created this trust, he was very specific about his intentions. Opening his desk drawer, Richard pulls out a manila folder labeled Ethan Walker. My breath catches. I wasn't expecting this. Ethan was meticulous, Richard explains, drawing out a notarized document. This is his statement of intent for the trust. He hands me the paper. My hands tremble as I read Ethan's familiar handwriting. This trust exists to protect Caleb's future and, in the worst-case scenario, to support Destiny, who gave up everything for his care. Tears blur my eyes. Even from across the ocean, Ethan had prepared for something like this. He saw what I refused to face. There's more, Richard says, turning his computer. Screen toward me. These are phone records. From our office over the past year. The spreadsheet lists several calls from numbers I instantly recognize, my parents' landline and Victoria's cell phone. They contacted you? About Caleb's trust? I ask, my voice tightening. Not me directly, Richard replies. They called to ask about trust provisions and beneficiary rights. My assistant flagged it because she knew the names from Ethan's file. They never actually spoke to an attorney here. For the first time in days, clarity pierces through my grief. They knew about the trust terms before Caleb's death. That's why they've been planning this, I say. It appears so. Richard answers, his expression firm. Mrs. Walker, let me be clear, he continues. This trust includes strict provisions to block family interference. Ethan built in several layers of protection to ensure the funds go either to Caleb or to you as the residual beneficiary. They have no legal right to challenge it? The trust is airtight. The pressure on my chest eases slightly. So they can't take it? Not legally, no. But they may try other methods, like claiming you're unfit because of grief. I think of my mother's cold message at the funeral, Victoria's calculating tone, and my father's uneasy silence as they handed me documents to sign. So I don't need to fight them for the trust, I say slowly, the realization settling in. I just need to show their true intentions. That would strengthen your case, Richard replies thoughtfully. Do you have proof of their attempts to gain control? I unlock my phone and show him the text from my mother on the day of the funeral. His eyebrows lift as he reads. This is extremely useful, he says. Now I suggest setting up a meeting with your family, on your terms and in public. 2 days later, I sit in the corner of Riverside Coffee, a manila envelope placed deliberately before me. The cafe hums with afternoon chatter, exactly what I wanted. Richard's advice echoes in my head. Public settings prevent drama and help you control the situation. Across the street, Angela waits in her car, ready if needed. Richard stays on standby for a call. For the first time since Caleb's diagnosis, I don't feel entirely alone. My family arrives together, Victoria leading in designer sunglasses, my parents following closely and Melissa trailing behind, avoiding my gaze. They sit down without ordering, clearly expecting a quick exchange. Victoria immediately reaches for the envelope. So you've signed the papers? I knew you'd come around. I place my hand firmly over it. Before we talk about any papers, I need to know why none of you came to Caleb's funeral. My mother exhales dramatically. Destiny, we've discussed this. Victoria's engagement was arranged months ago. We couldn't just cancel everything. It was your grandson's funeral, I say softly. And we mourned in our own way, my father answers, glancing nervously at nearby tables. Everyone grieves differently. I open the envelope and spread out several photos, screenshots from Victoria's Instagram, each time-stamped during Caleb's funeral, champagne glasses raised, diamond ring glittering, everyone laughing. While I was burying my son, you were drinking champagne and laughing. My voice stays calm, though people at nearby tables glance over. Victoria's face reddens. You're twisting that out of context. That's not fair. I take out another document from the envelope, the notarized trust agreement, with no amendments without grantor consent, highlighted in yellow. Ethan made his wishes clear, I say. This money is Caleb's legacy to me. My father reaches for the papers. Let me see that. I pull them back before he can touch them. I've already spoken with Richard Donovan. He holds Ethan's original statement of intent. The trust can't be changed, transferred, or accessed by anyone except me. Victoria's controlled expression falters. You don't deserve that money, you'll just waste it. Her voice rises, drawing the attention of other customers. Lower your voice, my mother hisses. Why? I ask, staring directly at Victoria, afraid people will hear how you tried to exploit your grieving sister? How you skipped your nephew's funeral but want his college fund? Victoria stands abruptly. This is absurd. We're only trying to help you. I don't need your kind of help, I reply, sliding the papers back into the envelope. I'm not signing anything. Ever. My father leans forward, his voice low and threatening. You're making a mistake, Destiny. We can make things very difficult for you. You already have, I say, standing. All my life. But not anymore. As I walk out, I can feel their stares burning into my back. Outside, Angela waits in her car, window down. When I get in, she smiles proudly. You stood up to them. Good for you. My phone rings. Richard calling for an update. How did it go? He asks. Do we need to prepare for immediate legal action? I describe the confrontation as Angela drives away from the coffee shop. Richard listens carefully, then assures me our legal position is strong. They'll probably try something else, he warns. But you've set firm boundaries. That's important. After we hang up, another call comes, Ethan's parents. They offer to fly in from Arizona to testify about Ethan's wishes if needed. We always knew Caleb's care was your first concern, Ethan's mother says. We'll support you any way we can. Moments later, I receive a text from Mark, my former coworker who used to visit Caleb in the hospital. Angela told me what's happening. Whatever you need, I'm here. For the first time in weeks, the heaviness in my chest eases. I'm not fighting alone anymore. When we pull into Angela's driveway, I pause before getting out. I touch Caleb's photo on the dashboard, his last school picture, taken before he got sick, his smile full of hope. First step done. Buddy, I whisper. Angela squeezes my hand. You did great today. I nod, looking toward the horizon. They won't stop easily. They'll try something bigger next. And we'll be ready, Angela says firmly. You're not alone anymore, Destiny. I take a deep breath, feeling something new inside me. Not just grief or anger, but determination. They didn't care enough to say goodbye to my son. They won't decide what happens to his legacy. 3 days after the confrontation, I spread documents across Richard Donovan's mahogany desk. My hands are steady as I organize them into neat piles. Grief still lingers beneath my skin, but a clear, cold resolve has taken root. They'll probably file for guardianship, Richard says, tapping a legal brief. His office smells of leather and old books, the kind of place where battles are planned, not fought. They'll claim you're unfit due to grief. It's their most direct route to the trust. I nod, studying the detailed timeline I've built, 18 months of Caleb's illness documented meticulously. Victoria never gets her hands dirty, I say. She'll use Mom and Dad as petitioners, maybe even Melissa. Good insight, Richard replies with genuine respect. We'll need to record every interaction since Caleb's diagnosis, every hospital visit you made, every appointment they skipped. I unlock my phone and open my calendar. I have records of all visits. I never missed one, not even the day after Ethan left abroad. My voice trembles slightly. Richard makes a note. And your parents? Victoria? None, I say firmly. No visits when he was diagnosed. None during the 3 weeks of isolation after the bone marrow treatment failed. Not even when the doctor said there was nothing more they could do. Document it all, Richard says. We don't move yet. We prepare. We gather proof. We anticipate their next move. When they come, and they will, we'll be ready. I trace my finger along the hospital bill, recalling how I learned to decode medical terms and dispute insurance denials. How I became Caleb's voice when no one else would step up. 8 months of treatments, and not a single visit from them, not one. Richard leans forward. Destiny, you need to understand. This isn't just about proving you're mentally sound. It's about showing they never cared about Caleb, only about his inheritance. The truth stings, but it also strengthens me. Then that's exactly what we'll prove. For the next hour, we review financial statements, demonstrating how carefully I managed Caleb's medical costs. Richard brings in a notary to witness my signing of affidavits, The process feels like building armor. Each document another layer protecting Caleb's legacy. They'll say your grief makes you unstable, Richard warns. We need to dismantle that story before they can use it. Angela kept a journal, I say, surprising myself. She wrote down every time she helped during Caleb's illness. She told me yesterday. Richard nods. Perfect. A neutral third-party record will carry real weight. I open my notebook. I've also contacted Caleb's oncologist and his teacher. Both agreed to provide character statements. Excellent, Richard replies. Now what about Ethan? His intent when creating the trust could be vital. I called his parents last night, I say. They're working with his lawyer to confirm his original intentions. The words come easier now, every step clear in my mind. I've also installed security cameras at home. If they confront me again, there'll be proof. Richard notes it down. I'm scheduling a consultation with Dr. Elizabeth Warner tomorrow. She's a psychiatric expert who can evaluate you and counter any mental health claims. I hesitate, then add, I've saved screenshots. Every time they downplayed Caleb's condition. Every message where they said I was overreacting. My voice hardens. They created a pattern, minimizing his illness while plotting to take his trust fund. That's exactly the evidence we need, Richard says quietly. Not just to defend you, but to expose their motives. I glance out the window at autumn leaves swirling across the parking lot. Caleb loved fall. The colors, the cinnamon scent, the sound of leaves crunching under his shoes. Last October, I wheeled him outside so he could feel the crisp air on his face. You okay? Richard asks. Just remembering, I say softly. What else do we need? As he outlines our next moves, my phone vibrates. A text from Angela. Just heard from Martha at the hospital. Melissa was asking about Caleb's treatment schedule. Be careful, my stomach tightens. I show Richard the message. They're collecting evidence, he says grimly. Melissa had access to your hospital visits and emotional state. She's signed something, hasn't she? The realization hits me hard. An affidavit saying I was unstable during Caleb's illness. Richard's silence says it all. She was my best friend since third grade. I whisper. She held my hand through my divorce. Victoria's recruiting anyone who knows your life, Richard says gently. It raises the stakes. Memories flood back. Melissa's fading visits, her discomfort when I broke down, the way she avoided my eyes near the end. She'll claim she saw erratic behavior, I say hollowly. And she wouldn't be entirely wrong. I did break down sometimes. Who wouldn't? For the first time during this planning session, doubt creeps in. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am falling apart? I glance at my trembling hands. Don't, Richard says firmly. That's exactly what they want, to make you doubt yourself. My phone buzzes again. Angela, coming by Richard's office. Found my journals? You need to see these. 30 minutes later, Angela arrives carrying a stack of notebooks. Her silver hair is pinned neatly, her eyes fierce with determination. Melissa can say whatever she wants, Angela declares, setting the journals on Richard's desk. But I documented everything. Every day you spent at the hospital, every night you stayed with Caleb, every meal I brought when you refused to leave his side. She grips my hands. Don't let them make you question yourself, Destiny. That's exactly their goal. Her warmth steadies me. I look from Angela to Richard, then to the growing pile of evidence on the desk. My son's legacy, guarded by truth, proven piece by piece. You're right, I reply, straightening my posture. I need to be ready for character attacks, not just legal ones. As I sort Angela's journals into our evidence pile, I realize we're building more than a legal defense. We're constructing a record of truth. A testament to who truly stood by Caleb when it counted, and who turned away. Later that night, after Angela left, my hands trembled as I placed the final photo on the evidence board in Richard's office. It showed my parents at Victoria's engagement party, champagne glasses lifted in celebration, exactly 42 minutes after Caleb's casket was lowered into the ground. That's the last piece, Richard says, stepping back to study our work. The conference room wall has become a complete timeline, filled with hospital records showing every appointment I attended, financial statements confirming responsible use of Caleb's medical funds, and witness statements from nurses, neighbors, and teachers. 18 months of documented absence by my family during Caleb's illness. Will it be enough? I ask, adjusting a file that outlines Victoria's unauthorized access to Caleb's records. Richard pushes up his glasses, expression calm but determined. They'll apply for emergency guardianship, claiming you're unstable, but we've covered every angle. This, he says, tapping a notarized statement from Ethan's parents, makes their argument weak. I trace the line of events on our board: 8 months of hospital visits, sleepless nights in hard chairs beside Caleb's bed, every treatment and setback carefully logged. I never imagined I'd have to prove I was a good mother, I whisper. You shouldn't have to, Richard replies, placing a hand on my shoulder. But people who want what isn't theirs will twist any story they can. My phone buzzes. A message from Angela. 23 neighbors signed the character petition. A small victory, but every name adds strength to our defense. I've spent the past week fortifying myself with truth, installing security cameras, documenting every message and post where Victoria subtly questions my sanity. They're painting me as unstable, I say, staring at her recent Facebook post asking for prayers for family members struggling with mental health after loss. The comments overflow with sympathy. None mention she skipped her nephew's funeral. Richard nods grimly. It's a typical move. When they can't win legally, they try to win public opinion first. The phone rings. Richard answers, listening silently before setting it down. That was my contact at Memorial Hospital. Someone requested Caleb's full medical file yesterday. My stomach twists. Who? Victoria. She used an outdated emergency contact form to access it. The room feels like it's spinning. They'll twist everything, I say, voice shaking. They'll find one emotional outburst, one hesitation, and use it to label me unfit. They're desperate, Richard replies. That breach shows just how far they'll go. I grip the table edge. What else are they doing? Richard opens his laptop, typing rapidly before turning the screen toward me. Your old colleagues. They've been contacting them. A LinkedIn message appears. Destiny, your sister called asking about your emotional stability at work. What's happening? Call me. They're attacking me from every direction, I say, anger rising through my grief. They're trying to erase everything I did for Caleb. Richard closes the laptop firmly. We'll add a defamation counterclaim. This isn't just about the trust anymore. They're after your reputation. I think of Caleb's brave face during treatments, how he never complained, even on the hardest days. If my 9-year-old could face death with courage, I say quietly, I can face my family the same way. Let them try. We have something they don't. What's that? Richard asks. The truth, I answer, turning back to the board. Every decision, every sacrifice, it's all here. They can't erase that, Richard nods approvingly. I'll update our legal package to include these new developments. By night's end, our response is finalized. Witnesses secured, evidence cataloged, counterclaims ready. As I drive home, Angela calls. The security system's running perfectly, she says. For the first time in weeks, I let myself breathe. I tested it again while you were away. Thank you, I say, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for this woman who's become more like family than my own relatives. Ethan's parents are arriving tomorrow, bringing the original documents about the trust's purpose. You've done everything possible to protect Caleb's legacy, Angela says firmly. Now, we wait for their next move. As I pull into my driveway, I realize something inside me has shifted. The overwhelming grief hasn't vanished, but it's now joined by something new. A fierce, protective anger cutting through the fog of despair. I'm no longer afraid. I'm angry and I'm ready. The next morning, a sharp knock from the sheriff startles me. When I open the door, his face is professionally expressionless as he hands me a thick manila envelope. Destiny Walker, you've been served. My fingers shake as I take it. The weight feels wrong, too heavy for paper, too light for the devastation it carries. He tips his hat and walks away while I stand frozen, the envelope burning in my hands. Inside, I spread the papers across my kitchen table. The title makes my stomach drop. Emergency Petition for Guardianship. They're not just targeting Caleb's money now. They want control of my life. The phone rings. It's Richard. They filed, I say, my voice hollow. I know, he replies. Just got the notice. How are you holding up? I glance at the affidavits attached. Melissa's signature jumps out, 3 pages describing every moment of weakness she saw while Caleb was sick. The days I forgot to eat. The nights I broke down crying in hospital hallways. The mornings I couldn't recall if I'd taken my own medication. They twisted everything, I whisper. Even quoted private medical records, things I told the doctors in confidence. Victoria shouldn't have had access to those files, Richard says sharply. That's our angle. The hospital's ethics committee is already investigating. I turn the page, financial statements showing my drained savings. 18 months without steady work while caring for Caleb had left me with nothing. They've highlighted every overdraft, every late payment, framing survival as irresponsibility. The hearing's tomorrow, Richard says. We knew this was coming. We're prepared, but I'm not sure I am. This isn't just about money anymore. They're attacking my independence, my dignity, my identity as a capable adult. The documents describe a woman collapsing, irrational, unstable, unfit without supervision. Have you seen the newspaper? Richard asks quietly. I open the local news site on my phone. There they are. My parents posed in their pristine living room, sorrow carefully displayed on their faces. The headline makes me sick. Family seeks help for grieving mother. My father's quote stands out in bold. This breaks our hearts. But we must protect her from herself. On social media, Victoria's post appears, an old photo of us as kids, her arm around my shoulders. Sometimes helping someone you love means stepping in. Please keep us in your thoughts. Mental health awareness. Family first. The comments flood with sympathy. Strangers praising their courage. Offering prayers. They've already judged me in the court of public opinion, I say bitterly. Courts don't rule by Instagram likes, Richard replies. I've filed our counter petition. Ethan's parents are here and ready to testify about his intentions for the trust. The ethics committee has issued a statement confirming the unauthorized access to Caleb's records. I touch the silver locket around my neck, Caleb's photo warm against my skin. What if it's not enough? It will be, Richard says calmly. Angela has 20 neighbors ready to vouch for you. Your former supervisor has submitted a statement about your professionalism. And Dr. Levine, Caleb's primary physician, provided an affidavit praising your medical decisions. My phone buzzes with a message from Angela. We're all set for tomorrow. The whole block's behind you. For the first time since receiving the papers, I feel something other than fear. Determination. Their claims are absurd. None of them were there. Not for the chemo sessions, not for the transfusions, not for the long nights when Caleb's fever hit 104 and I thought I might lose him. We've also submitted the doorbell footage, Richard adds, showing Victoria and your mother trying to enter your home last week during our meeting. I remember that recording, them testing doorknobs, peering through windows. We're fighting back with everything, Richard says. The restraining order is included in our counter petition. I look over the papers spread across the table, their lies stamped with legal seals and case numbers. Tomorrow, a judge will read these words and decide my future based on them. Get some rest, Richard advises. Tomorrow will be tough. Rest still doesn't come. I'm reviewing my testimony for the 4th time when my phone buzzes with a doorbell camera alert at 9:48 p.m. Victoria is on my porch, alone. I think about ignoring her, but something inside insists I face this. I start recording on my phone before unlocking the door, leaving the security chain in place. What do you want, Victoria? She looks different than she did at the coffee shop. Softer, her face showing concern instead of hostility. If I didn't know better, I might almost think she cared. Can I come in? Just to talk? She asks gently. No, her shoulders slump. Destiny, please. This doesn't have to be so public. Or so ugly. You made it public when you gave that interview, I reply evenly, and you made it ugly when you accessed Caleb's private medical records. Victoria glances toward the camera, fully aware she's being recorded. I'm offering you one last chance to avoid humiliation, she says. Withdraw your objection to the guardianship petition. Sign over control of the trust to me as administrator. We'll drop the case and no one ever has to know about your episodes. The word lingers between us like poison. Episodes? I repeat. The night you called Melissa at 3 a.m., frantic about Caleb's breathing. The time the hospital nearly contacted child services because you forgot when he last took his medication. Her voice sounds sympathetic, but her eyes are icy. We'll destroy your reputation. Everyone will know how unstable you are. A strange calm washes over me. I think you should leave now. Victoria. Her composure cracks for just a moment, enough to reveal the anger beneath. You think you deserve that money? She hisses. You were always the burden, the problem, the disappointment. She leans closer to the door. We carried you your whole life. Now it's your turn to do something for this family. I close the door without another word. My hands are steady. For the first time today, I immediately call Richard and send him the recording. Perfect, he says after listening. Her mask finally slipped. This is exactly what we needed. It's past midnight when Angela arrives with an overnight bag. I thought you could use some company, she says, setting a thermos of tea on the kitchen table. Thank you, I whisper, unable to express how much it means. Tomorrow, we show them what real strength looks like, she says. Squeezing my hand, my phone lights up with a text from Richard. Everything is ready. Ethan believed in you, so do we. I can't sleep, so I sit in Caleb's room, holding his favorite stuffed dinosaur. The glow-in-the-dark stars on his ceiling still shine faintly. I open my locket, gazing at his smiling face. Tomorrow is for you, buddy, I whisper. For your legacy. For the first time since the sheriff knocked on my door, I feel something beyond fear. I feel ready. The next morning, I walk into the courtroom with my head high, flanked by Richard, Angela, and Ethan's parents. The polished wood and solemn stillness feel like a place where truth should matter more than performance. Victoria, my parents, and Melissa sit across from me, their faces composed in masks of concern. My stomach tightens as I take my seat. It's been 48 hours since the sheriff served me with papers claiming I'm unfit to manage my own affairs, or my son's. Legacy, Richard gives my arm a reassuring squeeze as we settle at the defendant's table. I'll rise for the Honorable Judge Marion Peabody. A composed woman in her 60s enters, her silver hair neatly tied back in a strict bun. She scans the emergency petition with a focused gaze before addressing the court. These are serious allegations. I expect both sides to provide evidence, not emotion. Her sharp eyes sweep across both tables. Mr. Harrington, you may begin for the petitioners. My family's attorney rises, his tailored suit and confident posture reflecting their belief that victory is certain. Your Honor, he begins. This case involves a family trying to help their daughter and sister, who has been struggling after an unimaginable loss. He approaches the bench, placing documents before the judge with practiced solemnity. Miss Walker has displayed troubling behavior since her son's passing. Impulsive financial choices, emotional withdrawal, and refusal to accept support from those who care about her. I clench my fists under the table as he continues, describing me as unstable and unfit to manage myself or Caleb's inheritance. When Melissa takes the stand, my chest tightens. Destiny changed during Caleb's illness, she testifies, avoiding my eyes. She became obsessive about treatments, convinced doctors were overlooking something. She would call me in the middle of the night, completely distraught. The memories hit me, sitting beside Caleb's hospital bed, terrified as his fever rose, reaching out to someone I believed was my friend. My so-called paranoia was never irrational. It was the result of abandonment by the very people testifying against me. Next, my mother takes the stand, dabbing at tears that seem rehearsed. We're heartbroken watching her fall apart, she says softly. This isn't about money. It's about protecting our daughter when she can't protect herself. The judge's expression softens, and fear grips me. She's believing them. Then Richard stands, and the atmosphere shifts. Your Honor, he begins firmly. What we're seeing today isn't concern, it's calculation. His steady voice fills the courtroom. Miss Walker hasn't self-destructed. She's been targeted by relatives who abandoned her during her son's illness, only to reappear when they learned about his trust fund. He methodically dismantles their claims, submitting complete hospital records showing every appointment I attended, every treatment I approved, every night I spent at Caleb's side. I'd now like to call Miss Catherine Winters, hospital records administrator. A kind-eyed woman takes the stand and confirms what Richard anticipated. Our system indicates that Miss Victoria Walker accessed Caleb's medical records 2 weeks ago using an outdated emergency contact form. This is a serious privacy violation. Victoria shifts uneasily as murmurs ripple through the courtroom. Angela testifies next, her calm voice steady with experience. I watched Destiny care for that boy every single day. When Caleb couldn't eat, she researched solutions and prepared meals that wouldn't make him sick. When he feared treatments, she created superhero stories to comfort him. Her eyes meet mine. I never saw her waver once. Ethan's father, Robert, follows. Though we've never been close, his testimony is firm. My son established this trust with clear instructions. He told me, "Dad, if anything happens to Caleb, Destiny receives everything. She gave up her career, her savings, everything to care for him. She'll honor his memory better than anyone." The judge's expression changes, sharper now, more critical of my family. "Your Honor," Richard says, "I have one more piece of evidence." He plays a security recording from the previous night, Victoria's unannounced visit to my home. Her voice echoes through the courtroom. "We'll destroy your reputation completely. Everyone will know how unstable you are." Then my calm response follows. "I think you should leave now, Victoria." Her next words reveal her true motives. "You think you deserve that money? You were always the burden." Victoria's face turns crimson. My mother covers her mouth in shock. My father stares ahead, jaw clenched. Judge Peabody calls for a 15-minute recess. When she returns, Victoria tries to speak, but the judge silences her with a firm gesture. "Mr. Donovan, do you have any additional evidence?" Richard nods. "One final exhibit, Your Honor." He plays an audio recording from our coffee shop meeting. The voices are clear. My mother. "Once the guardianship is approved, we can settle Victoria's mortgage situation." Victoria discusses the beach house repairs. "The contractor requires $50,000 by next month." My father adds, "Once we gain guardianship, we can control the money however we choose. Destiny will have no say." The courtroom falls silent. Our attorney flips through papers nervously, clearly unprepared for what's unfolding. Judge Peabody calls for a short recess. When she returns, her face is stern and unyielding. "I've reviewed all evidence and testimony in this case," she begins firmly. "This court finds no justification for the emergency guardianship petition. In fact, what I see is deeply troubling, a deliberate attempt to exploit a grieving mother for financial benefit." Victoria tries to interject, but the judge cuts her off. "Ms. Victoria Walker, I strongly advise you to remain silent." This court dismisses the petition with prejudice, Judge Peabody continues, meaning it cannot be filed again on these same grounds. "Furthermore, I'm ordering an investigation into possible perjury by Melissa Bennett and Charles and Elaine Walker, whose testimonies contradict verified documentation." Each word lands with sharp finality. I am also granting an immediate restraining order preventing all petitioners from contacting Destiny Walker. The trust will be unfrozen at once and secured against further interference. Victoria's composure breaks. She struggles to stay calm as her plans collapse. My mother begins to cry, real tears this time. My father stares forward, his expression empty and stunned. "Ms. Walker," the judge says, meeting my eyes, "you've shown remarkable courage and clarity in the face of unimaginable loss. Your son would be proud of how you've safeguarded his legacy." As my parents and Victoria rise to approach me, a bailiff steps in, enforcing the restraining order. Richard turns toward me, his formal demeanor softening. "The system worked today, Destiny. Justice was served." Angela's eyes glisten. "Caleb would be so proud of you, dear." Ethan's parents embrace me. His mother whispers, "You've honored both our son and grandson today." As I leave the courtroom, I touch Caleb's photo in my locket, a small silver frame holding his final school portrait. Despite losing his hair to chemo, his grin radiates determination, the same strength that carried him through 18 months of treatment. Reporters crowd the steps outside, microphones extended. A month ago, I would have walked past without a word. Today, I pause. "Mrs. Walker, how do you feel about the ruling?" one asks. I lift my head, standing taller than I have in years. Today, justice was done for my son. As cameras flash, I move forward, toward the future Caleb would have wanted. One where his memory isn't just preserved, but honored through the strength he helped me find. The trust fund isn't merely money, it's his legacy, and I've proven worthy of protecting it. A financial advisor slides a folder toward me across his polished mahogany desk. "These investment options will sustain the scholarship program while preserving the principal," he explains. I review the numbers, unbothered by the once intimidating jargon. "It's been a week since the hearing," I say. "The pediatric hematology fellowship must be fully funded." "That's non-negotiable." He nods, taking notes. "And the restraining order?" holding strong. They can't come within 1,000 feet. My voice doesn't shake anymore when I mention my family. Strange how quickly family has become an administrative term instead of an emotional one. Yesterday, the local paper ran a front-page headline, "Mother vindicated in trust battle. Supportive calls and messages have poured in." Even Victoria's fiancé reached out to apologize, then announced their engagement was over. My parents now face potential perjury charges. Melissa was fired after her recorded testimony spread through her office. Outside the advisor's office, Angela waits in her old Buick, window down despite the autumn chill. "All set?" she asks. "All set," I reply, sliding into the seat beside her. I remember the countless drives to and from the hospital with Caleb. Angela bringing homemade soup when cafeteria food was unbearable. Watching him so I could rest. Never thought I could do this, I admit, as we drive. "Stand up to them. Build something lasting," Angela pats my hand gently. "I knew you could. From the moment you placed that action figure in his grave and made that promise." That night, I sleep peacefully for the first time since Caleb's diagnosis. No dreams of hospital corridors or machines, only Caleb laughing, healthy and whole, running through golden fields. Richard calls the next morning. The foundation paperwork is complete. The trust is secured, untouchable now, even by the Supreme Court. Neighbors organize a meal train. Every evening, someone drops off homemade food, soups, casseroles, bread. These small gestures, once overwhelming, now feel like affirmation of something I finally understand. Family isn't always defined by blood. I take out a photo of Caleb, not one from the hospital, but from the beach, his smile bright under a baseball cap. "I know what to do with your legacy now, buddy," I whisper. 6 months later, I stand in the pediatric blood disorder unit where Caleb spent so many hours. The walls are bright now, painted with underwater murals he would have loved. A plaque beside the nurse's station reads, "Caleb Walker Memorial Wing." A young nurse approaches and extends her hand. "I'm Jennifer Abrams, the first Caleb Walker scholar. Thank you for giving me the chance to specialize in pediatric hematology." "Caleb would have loved that," I say, realizing I'm smiling, genuinely smiling as I speak of him. "He wanted to be a doctor someday." "The foundation is already making a difference," Jennifer says. And for the first time, I believe her. 3 families have already received emergency housing support. The Caleb's Legacy Foundation now assists families facing the same struggles we once endured, covering costs insurance won't, offering temporary housing near hospitals, and supporting advanced training for pediatric nurses. Every board meeting opens new doors for how far we can extend our help. Angela serves as our volunteer coordinator, managing a network that provides meals, rides, and childcare for families with children in hospitals. Richard oversees all legal affairs pro bono, securing the foundation's stability. "You've turned tragedy into something meaningful," Ethan's mother tells me during her monthly visit. She and her husband have become advocates for grandparents, helping others navigate the healthcare system when their grandchildren become ill. I now speak at support groups, guiding parents new to the overwhelming reality of childhood chronic illness. "The first step is believing you can handle this," I tell them. The second is realizing you don't have to face it alone. My voice no longer trembles when I speak publicly, nor do my hands shake when I sign official papers. The woman once frozen by her son's grave has become someone stronger, someone Caleb would be proud of. Exactly 1 year after Caleb's funeral, I return to the cemetery. The path feels different beneath my feet, no longer leading toward unbearable sorrow, but toward connection and peace. I lay fresh flowers on his headstone, tracing his name with my finger as the morning sun warms the stone. "Excuse me," a voice says. A woman approaches, holding the hand of a little girl around 7. "Are you Destiny Walker?" she asks. I nod and stand to greet her. "I'm Sarah Mitchell, and this is my daughter, Emma." Her eyes glisten with tears. "Emma was diagnosed with the same condition as your son last year. The specialist funded by your scholarship program discovered a treatment that worked when nothing else did. Your son's legacy saved my daughter's life." Emma steps forward, shy but brave. "Thank you for helping me get better." I kneel beside her, seeing in her face the future Caleb never had. "You're very welcome, Emma." Rising, I share Caleb's story. This time with pride, not pain. "Fighting for his legacy changed me," I explain. "It gave me strength I never knew existed." Sarah listens with deep attention. "The foundation is growing?" she asks. Yes, I reply. We're launching research into rare blood disorders next quarter. Angela's joining the board, Richard is setting up the research grants, and Ethan's parents are leading the grandparent advocacy program. After they leave, I reach into my pocket and take out Caleb's favorite action figure, the one I had placed in his grave a year ago. The cemetery worker had returned it to me after the service, sensing my regret at letting it go. I set it gently against his headstone. I kept my promise, Caleb, I whisper. Your legacy is safe and growing stronger every day. Standing in the same spot where I once felt completely lost, I'm now surrounded by those who have become my true family, not by blood, but by choice, loyalty, and love. The family that matters most, I say softly to Caleb, isn't always the one you're born into, but the one that stands beside you when you need them most. As I walk back to my car, the morning sun warm on my face, a realization settles in. Sometimes the deepest pain brings the greatest transformation. I'm no longer just surviving. I'm living a life that honors everything Caleb taught me about courage.